Hello, I'm Nora, and welcome back to Novels with Nora. And this here is Cheerio, and he today is going to be helping me rank every single book that I have read in 2025. I did this last year. Before I even had started my channel, I decided to do it for the reading journal that I had at the time, and it was a lot of work, but I ended up really enjoying it, so we will be doing it again this year. However, I have read the most I've ever read this past year, and that is 110 books. So I have 110 books to rank. And not only that, but there are quite a few of them that are unrated, because if you are new here, I am currently in grad school to become a librarian, and one of my courses in this past semester was a course that had us reading 22 books for teens because I want to be a teen librarian, and those books didn't feel right for me to give my own personal rating to because I wasn't picking them up because I wanted to read them. I was picking them up for this assignment and then reviewing them and rating them in a way based on the enjoyment that I think teens would get from them. So I did not rate any of those books. And also I read a lot of graphic novels this year, surprisingly, and I don't give those a star rating. So I also have a lot of books that are unrated, but like in that section, there's a lot of things that like I really enjoyed. So we have our work cut out for us today, but I've already gone ahead and started that work. So let me open up my computer here. And in the screen that you are currently seeing on my computer, I have broken down all of the books that I've read the entire year into categories. So I have my 5 stars, my 4.5 stars, my 4 stars, my 3.5 stars, my 3 stars, my 2.5 stars, my 2 stars, and the unrated section. So within these, this is how I did it last year. And I know there's more fun ways to do this that are more like image based, but this is what I have found works for me. And so within these, I'm going to rank each book within each section, so that then we have a compiled list. Because if I try and do it just like with here are all of the 110 books I read this year, rank them, I will be sitting here hemming and hawing for hours. While doing it this way, it breaks it down into little sections that makes it slightly more manageable. Still very hard because again, all of these are 5 stars. So in a way, I rated them all equally. So then having to decide which one I liked more than others is difficult. I imagine that the editing of this video will be quite difficult, and it'll be me cutting out lots of me just sitting here thinking, so lucky for you, you don't have to see any of that. You will just see me actually ranking these. But with all that preamble out of the way, I guess let's just get started. And I am going to start with the 5 stars because I feel like here, usually I have very strong connections to these books, and then as well in like the lower ratings. But like in the middle, I'm like, I feel very neutral on all of these. So that's where it gets hard. So starting in my 5 stars, a lot of these are, I also put these in order kind of like randomly so that I wouldn't hopefully fall as much into recency bias, which I know is still going to happen, but at least this way they're in a random order. So in here, this Abortion, which was a nonfiction about the state of abortion in the United States, and then down here, The Six was a nonfiction about the first 6 female astronauts. And so having those nonfictions in with the rest of the fiction will also be interesting to see where they end up. But starting with the rest of these, there are at least 3 to 5 things that I know I really loved, and that is Plain Bad Heroines, The Ashfire King, and The Stardust Thief, which are the first and second in a trilogy. And then, let's see, To Shape a Dragon's Breath, absolutely loved. And then there's one more, Dragon Fruit. Those were like my top reads of the year. I just don't know in what order they're going to end up, because this is where I really get stuck, is I don't know what order I want to put these in. So like sitting back and thinking, The Stardust Thief I read in February, I think, and really stuck with me, but so did Plain Bad Heroines. I really think that it's going to be between those two of what my top book of the year is between The Stardust Thief, because my ranking is going to be The Stardust Thief then The Ashfire King, no matter where they end up in the actual list. So it's going to be between Plain Bad Heroines and The Stardust Thief for my top book of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and make another tab and then start like pretty much the same list, just do it again, and then this one will be fully in order. So for right now, I'm going to put Plain Bad Heroines as number 1, I think. This might change, but for right now, I think that is my top read of the year. Now you are going to see all of my spelling errors here, and then it would be The Stardust Thief, number 2, and then The Ashfire King. Okay, so then in here, I'll just go through, and the ones that I've used, I'm just going to italicize them to make sure that I'm not reusing them. Okay, and then after that, okay, so Dragon Fruit I really loved, and To Shape a Dragon's Breath. I think To Shape a Dragon's Breath is going to come next. This was one of the things that I actually read for that class, but it was something that I already had on my shelves and just like managed to fit it into something, and I ended up really loving it, and I can't wait for the sequel. So that definitely had to be in my top 5. Okay, and then I had 25 stars. So a lot this year, but honestly, I'm really happy about that. So let's see. And then I think Dragon Fruit is going to come after that. This was an YA fantasy that I read, again, early in the year and really loved. Okay, let's see. Then, are there anything else in here? A Language of Dragons I also really loved, but I think next is going to be We Ride Upon Styx. That was a book that I read in a video where I read Books and Lala's favorite books, and picked it up just kind of on a whim and ended up really loving it, and now I'm really invested in what else this author writes because I love this book. Okay, we're getting through our top 10 quite quickly. I feel like it's going to be after that. Okay, then after this we have things that I don't know where I want to put because, like, oh goodness. Okay, so The Princess and the Scoundrel was a Star Wars novel, and I always love the Star Wars novels. I pretty much always give them 5 stars, but I feel like this one is gonna have to go towards the end of this list just because I did love it, but I loved it because of the characters it was following, which are like pre-existing characters. The author didn't create them, and then also I just love Star Wars. So I think that one's gonna be at the end. And then let's see, what else do we have? Sound the Gong. Brighter Than Scales from Flame. I did really love that. Was in my favorite books of like the first half of the year, so I feel like it makes sense for that one to be early on in this list. And then The Center and The Unworthy, I also, same with Come and Get It. There's like a very wide array of genres in here, so it makes it kind of hard for me to decide, like, how do I decide if a fantasy or a fiction 5-star is better than the other when they're so different? That's where I get caught up. But I think next I'm going to do Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame. I do think that's going to be next. This is a novella that I absolutely loved. I got an arc of it and fell in love. First of all, the cover is stunning. Definitely go look at that. But also, like, it was just a really great story, and it did so much in such a few pages. Just absolutely outstanding. And then after that, I do think I'm going to put The Unworthy. This one was a real shock for me because I did not like Tender as the Flesh from this author. And so I picked this one up just because I knew it was about religion and like religious trauma, which is something that I am interested in reading about, as I did go to Catholic school. And so I just kind of picked it up on a whim, thinking like I can always DNF it. It's short, like we'll just give it a try. And then I absolutely fell in love with it. So that one definitely has to make the list. And then The Center, I kind of forgot about this book for a little bit, but every time I think about it, I'm just like struck with how much I loved it and how much it surprised me and how much like I continue to think about it without even really realizing it, because it follows our main character who works in translation. So now every time I read a translated book, or really any book, and I just think about like the word choices that the author made, it makes me think of this book. So I think I'm gonna put that one next. And like, this isn't like the final list. This is just my first go through and deciding where I think things are going to end up, and then I'll do that for each category and then read through and be like, no, some things need to move, but I need to start somewhere, and so this is where I start. So then after that, let's see what we have left. Sound the Gong, Abortion, Wings of Starlight, which was a Tinkerbell novel, which was crazy, and I absolutely loved it, but I feel like that has to go similar to where Princess and the Scoundrel is going to end up. The Starving Saints, Come and Get It, Monstrilio, A Language of Dragons, and The Last Hero. Some of these, like, The Last Hero was the last in a trilogy, so ranking that in with all of these, like, standalones or, like, first in a series, also very interesting. But let's see. After that, we have The Center, and then, I think I'm going to do The Starving Saints next. I don't know. Maybe Come and Get It. I think that's where that's going to go. This was a fiction, but I ended up really... Oh, and then that would be my top 10. I don't know. Okay. I did exactly what I thought I was going to do, where I just sat here hemming and hawing over what it was going to do, and then I got into a flow state and completed what my 5-star list is for right now. So now I'm just going to run through this and see if I want to move anything right now. So my top read of the year then was Plain Bad Heroines, then The Stardust Thief and The Ashfire King, To Shape a Dragon's Breath, Dragon Fruit, We Ride Upon Styx, Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame, The Unworthy, The Center, Come and Get It, A Language of Dragons, The Starving Saints, The Last Hero, The Six, A Treachery of Swans, Wings of Starlight, Monstrilio, Sound the Gong, The Princess and the Scoundrel, and Abortion. And I think I already see one thing that I'm going to switch. I think I'm going to switch Come and Get It and A Language of Dragons. A lot of these I decide based on like what is like sticking with me, and like when I think of the book, what am I thinking? Am I like, oh yeah, I can like picture scenes and characters and things that really stuck with me, or am I just kind of like, oh no, I had a really good time with that? And that's why I'm switching these two, because A Language of Dragons I found myself thinking about for so long after I finished it, where Come and Get It, like similarly but not nearly as much. And I also feel like A Language of Dragons a lot of the reviews that I read weren't super positive and didn't really like the main character for the choices that she made, where I could see so clearly why she was making those choices. And was like, no, she is such like a authentic character. I loved her so much, Vivian, our main character. So I have to put that one in my top 10. So then it would be Come and Get It, The Starving Saint, The Last Hero. Yeah, I feel like I'm really quite happy with this. Yeah, I think that's honestly going to be that for now. And then we'll move down into our next category, which is going to be 4.5 stars. This section is a little bit smaller, but there's still a lot going on in here. And I feel like 4.5 is the rating where I'm like, I absolutely love this, but it isn't quite a 5-star. And this is a very go with my gut rating. That's something I really want to get better at in the new year, is like how I rate, and like having an actual like rating system that I use, and not just this feels like a 4.5, because a lot of these are like just so, like, I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, I don't think I really liked it enough for it to be a 4.5. But at this point, I'm like, well, that's where I put it when I finished it. So, like, do I go back and, like, retroactively change my rating? I don't know. But I think that the first one in this section is going to be Small Favors, because I loved this book and I don't know why I didn't give it 5 stars. Like, truly thinking about that, I'm not sure. It feels like a 5-star book to me, but me, when I read it, did not think so. So there must have been, like, something, but I don't know what. And so, like, when you're going through your end of the year reading and like you're looking at your books, like make your top 10, do you like retroactively change ratings if you're feeling differently about things? I don't know, because even like looking at like my years of past reading, I'm like, oh, that is not a 5-star. But at the time I did give it that. So it's like the rating that it has isn't inaccurate, but it's also not accurate. So not sure what to do about that. So we have Small Favors, and then there's a lot of things in here that I really enjoyed. And then some things like Camp Damascus, and I'm like, I don't know why that's there. So I don't know what we want to do next in here. I think Dancers of the Dawn is going to be next, because this one really surprised me and I really loved it, and I'm very much looking forward to the sequel. Let's see. Defy the Stars also was surprising, but it doesn't feel like it. Lucy Undying is going to go next for sure. I think I'm actually going to put Lucy Undying here. This one, I know why this one's not a 5-star. Like, I want it to be because I think about it so much. And this is the book that made me realize that I actually do like vampires, just when they're done in a certain way. But there was also an aspect of this book that I did not really enjoy and kind of like cheapened the whole thing for me. So I see why it's not a 5-star, but I did really enjoy it. So gonna put that there. Okay, let's see. So we know Camp Damascus is gonna go at the end, so I don't need to worry about that. Defy the Stars, Daughter of the Moon Goddess. House of Roots and Ruin I also really enjoyed. But I think next I'm going to actually do The Next Best Fling, which is a romance, a straight romance, which is not something I would normally read and then enjoy this much. But this is from a new author, or new to me author, Gabriela Gomez. And I ate this up, had me giggling and kicking my feet, and like had the time of my life with this book. So definitely gonna put that next. And then I think after that, I will do House of Roots and Ruin. And then I think Backhanded Compliments, which is another romance, sapphic this time. And it was a sports romance, tennis this time. And I really enjoyed this. It had kind of like a speculative aspect that I really liked. And also I just really liked the characters. It felt similar to Heated Rivalry, like a better version. I read Heated Rivalry this year. You'll see that later. I did not really like it. I didn't feel like there was enough character development, but we'll talk about that later. But I loved Backhanded Compliments. Let's see. Oh, House of Roots and Ruin I did use. Okay, then I think I'll do Defy the Stars, because I did really enjoy this. This is in a trilogy, I think, and I'm not continuing on with the trilogy, but I did really enjoy this first one. It actually felt kind of similar to The Last Hero, so I feel like it makes sense then that they would be like kind of close to each of them. Not really. I was looking at it being last year and I was like, oh, that makes sense. This is not the final ranking. Okay, let's see what else. Next we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I did enjoy, but I didn't love. This Delicious Death, which I did really enjoy. Camp Damascus. So I think This Delicious Death is gonna go next. And then I think I'll do Daughter of the Moon Goddess and then Late Bloomer. Actually, I think I'm gonna do If We Survive This, then Late Bloomer. That feels good. I wish I had like a more scientific way of doing this, but this is truly just vibes. It's all just vibes. Okay, so then finally here we have Camp Damascus and A Botanical Daughter. So then it's going to be A Botanical Daughter, I feel like I really enjoyed this one when I read it, but even after I finished it, I was like, I don't think this is going to stick with me at all. And it hasn't. Camp Damascus did kind of stick with me a little bit more, but simply because it did something different in its genre, and so I enjoyed that, but I feel like it doesn't really do anything for me. Also, I was just surprised because it was my second Chuck Tingle that I read, and I DNF'd the first one. So to then find one that I gave such a high rating to and really enjoyed, very surprising. But next we move into 4 stars, and I feel like this is where it starts to get a little bit harder because these ones kind of all feel very middle of the road between like the 4 down to like the 3 stars. It gets harder for me to kind of like piece it out and figure out where things are going to be. So let's just get going with that, I guess. Okay, this category actually is feeling a little bit easier just because within the 4 stars, there's things that I'm like, yes, I really like this, and things that I'm like, does it really belong in the 4 star? This is, again, where I have a lot of issues towards the end of the year because I'm like, why did I rate it like this? I'm not sure, but it is what it is. So my ranking so far is A Land So Wide, and then Biography of X. And then from there, I think I'm going to do Hungerstone, then A Bright Heart, then Hungerstone. These are all still books that I really enjoyed, but just didn't love. And I feel like Lady Dragon should not be 4 stars. And I feel like I'm taking these ratings from Storygraph because it's fine. I find it's where it's the most accurate. But because I rate my books in so many places, I use 3 apps, 2 notebooks, and 2 spreadsheets, which I'm severely cutting back this year. But I find that I give them different ratings in different places depending on when I give them the rating. So I usually do my 3 apps all at the same time, like when I finish the book. And so that rating is usually like my most, like right after I finish it, these are my thoughts. And then my spreadsheets I usually do after that. So then things start to change. And then by the time it gets to my notebook, we're like completely feeling differently about it. So my ratings are kind of all over the place. And I really would like to streamline my reading tracking process and also just make sure that my ratings feel legit and not just like, here we go, here's a rating. So something I do want to work on, but at this point, I'm not going back and changing all of my ratings because that would just, oh my god, that would be so much work. Okay, so then we have Hungerstone, and then I think I'm gonna do The Eyes Are the Best Part. I did really enjoy that, and I can't wait to see what this author does next. Okay, from here, what do we think? Like, looking at these books that I have left, I'm like, I really enjoyed Lady Dragon, I think more than the rest of these, but I didn't really love Lady Dragon that much, so then it feels weird to put it before those ones, but that's where it feels like it should go. And again, these ratings can always, like these rankings can always change, but for right now, that is where it's feeling like it should go. Will it stay there? Who knows? Okay, next I think I'm gonna do Violet Made of Thorns, which even when I read it, I said this is objectively not a very good book. But I had the time of my life reading it, and I think like reading experience plays such a huge role in ratings. Why can't I spell Violet? How oh, okay. And so the author had said of this book that she wished it was a duology, and like that's how she had intended it to be written, and then it just didn't turn out that way, and it shows in the writing. But I really enjoyed it. Like I had a lot of fun with it. So we're gonna do that, and then I think Spells for Forgetting will be next. And then I think I'm gonna do The Majesties, and then Heart of the Sun Warrior. Okay, and then we have You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, Playing for Keeps, and Hell Followed With Us. So I think Playing for Keeps is gonna go next. This was another YA romance, sports romance again, that I really enjoyed because it had a lot of great conversations that I just really thought were very important to have in a YA novel, so I really enjoyed that. And then there should be 2 left, 12 and 13, yes. And so I think it's gonna be Hell Followed With Us, and then You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. I enjoyed You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight for the most part. Like there were scenes where I thought were like genuinely kind of scary. And then when they revealed who like the killer was, because this is like a thriller, horror, summer camp slasher type book. And when they revealed the killer, I said, you're joking. I could not take it seriously. They like weren't, it was just not, it like took me out of the whole story right there. So that one, yeah. But I still enjoyed the whole rest of it, so okay. And then 3.5, this is my biggest section. I think potentially mine, yeah, this is my biggest section. So this one is going to be so much more difficult to rank. So I'm gonna kind of get started and hope that I can like tick a few off and then come back and tell you where we're at. 3 books in, and already this is feeling like, yeah, okay, I can put that there, because I feel very neutral about most of these books, that it's kind of just like, yeah, wherever they end up, they're gonna end up. So far, my ranking in my 3.5 category is What the Woods Took, A Fiery Spirit, and Kiss Her Once for Me. After that, I have no clue. Yeah, most of these I feel like completely just like neutral on a lot of these. Some of them were like big disappointments, but a lot of them were just like, they were okay. I think Natural Beauty, I'd originally rated Natural Beauty 3.75, and then I decided I didn't want to do like the 0.25 ratings. And also it, as you can see, ended up lower than some of these, so it definitely didn't deserve to be a 3.75, but that was one of my first reads of the year, so I thought I was doing something with my quarter ratings, but evidently not. Let's see. Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke is a short story collection. I think there's like 3 or 4 stories, and I really enjoyed the first one, and then the other ones I did not like at all, so that one's hard to rank because I loved that first story, but I didn't like the other ones. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else in here that I feel particularly positive about? Yeah, I'm very just neutral on a lot of these. There's aspects that I loved about most of them. So like Silver Under Nightfall had the potential for me to really love it. Kiss Me Maybe, same. It's also by Gabriela Gamas. And then like A Dark and Drowning Tide, I'm wanting to put it higher than I feel like it should go because I loved the vibes. I just did not care for the plot or really the characters, but the vibes and the atmosphere were fantastic. So I just don't know if that's enough to give it a higher ranking, because it would be ranked number 5 out of 23 in this category. And I just don't know that it deserves that spot, but I don't know that any of these deserve that spot. So I'm not sure. It's not like 5 overall, obviously, but I still feel like, I don't know. Okay, looking at all of them, I see that maybe I can still put it there, because I did really enjoy the vibes. The atmosphere was fantastic. We'll put it there for now. Obviously, something has to go there, and it doesn't feel like any of these deserve the spot, but we'll go with that. And then let's see. I think Woman Eating might go after that. Why not? As you can tell, I feel very neutral about most of these. I'm gonna work on this a little bit more and then get back to you. Okay, I managed to get that section finished. So we have What the Woods Took, A Fiery Spirit, Kiss Her Once for Me, Natural Beauty, A Dark and Drowning Tide, Woman Eating. Then I went with Tits Up, which was a nonfiction, Ring Shout, Love in Winter Wonderland, Silver Under Nightfall, Our Wives Under the Sea, Inner Space, Kiss Me Maybe, Sunrise on the Reaping, which might get moved up, Ladies in Hating, Say a Little Prayer, and after Sunrise on the Reaping, the vibes. Ladies in Hating, Say a Little Prayer, Otherworldly, The Fervor, The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and then these last 3, I knew this order. Honey Girl, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and I Was a Teenage Slasher, because I didn't really enjoy these, and within this category, I definitely ranked them lower than the ones at the top. So it got easier towards the bottom. And now we move into our 3 stars, which I feel like this also might be a little difficult, but it is what it is. We just keep trucking along. Let's see, what do we have here? Victorian Psycho, The Testing, Heated Rivalry, Bunny, Last of the Talons, Exquisite Ruin, Make the Season Bright, Graduation Day, The Honey Witch, Cold Eternity, Ghost Business, and Fable for the End of the World. And did I really like any of these books? No. So rating them, like ranking them within here, is going to be kind of difficult because I have no positive associations to any of these books. Victorian Psycho I thought was just fine, and in reading it I was like, what was the point? The Testing was like the second or third in a trilogy that was like just fine. Heated Rivalry, like I said, didn't really love. Bunny, disappointing. Last of the Talons, too much going on. Exquisite Ruin, not for me, thank you. Make the Season Bright, disappointing. Graduation Day, in that same trilogy that I talked about, also disappointing. Honey Witch, hated. Cold Eternity, huge disappointment. Ghost Business, boring. Fable for the End of the World, disappointing. So you see where we're at in this category. I think within here, I'm actually gonna have to put Heated Rivalry first, just because it is less offensive than some of the other ones. But also, if I really have such negative opinions about these books, should they be 3 stars? I don't think so. But also, like, to you, is a 3-star a good rating? Because it's technically better than half. Because if we're going on like a 5-star rating scale, which we are, 2.5 would be like the halfway. So should most of these be 2.5 stars? I think yes, and I think that's something to keep in mind for this year. So if we do Heated Rivalry first, which other of these were not as offensive? I think I'm gonna do Make the Season Bright and then Last of the Talons. Because these ones, there was at least something in them that I enjoyed and didn't hate completely. And I didn't completely hate most of these, but I didn't love them. I think Fable for the End of the World had really great writing. I just didn't love the plot or the characters. Ghost Business, hated the love interest, wanted more of the actual plot. Cold Eternity wasn't a bad book, so I think that's gonna go next. It's just, I love one of the books from this author, and this felt like a disappointment, but this can go next. Because it wasn't a bad book by any means, it just didn't live up to the hype I had set in my head, is the problem with that one. Okay, then I think I'll actually do Exquisite Ruin again, because the book itself wasn't bad. It was just much more explicit and sexual in nature than I was wanting to get myself into. I only picked this one up because it's from an author that I really enjoy, and this was her branching into adult erotica pretty much, and I wanted to support her, so I got it from the library. And did I read it? Yes. Was it a time? Yes. Did I particularly enjoy it? Not really. I like the characters, but they had a lot of sex. Anyway, I think then I'll do Fable for the End of the World. I think next I need to look up The Testing and Graduation Day and see which one is second and which one is third in this trilogy. Okay, so The Testing is number 1. Then do we think Graduation Day is number 3? Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna put The Testing first and then Graduation Day, wherever those end up. So I'll do The Testing next, because book number 2 was the one I really hated, and I think that's down here. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so that, and then I think we'll do after that, honestly, Graduation Day, and then I'll do Fable for the End of the World. Actually, then I'll do Bunny. No. Fable for the End of the World. And then Bunny. It's all coming together now. Okay, what do we have? Ghost Business, Honey Witch, and Victorian Psycho. Okay, there's only 12 in this category, but I only have 2 more, so what's going on here? Okay, anyway, my ranking is going to be Ghost Business, Victorian Psycho, Honey Witch. Did I like any of these 3 books? No, but also this is saying that there's now 13, when in this category, there's actually only 12. So let me figure that out and then get back to you. I found the issue, and I'm sure you noticed it sooner, but Fable for the End of the World is in here twice. So I need to decide where I actually want to keep that. Do I want it to be above The Testing and Graduation Day or after? I think it's gonna go above, so I can just take that out of there and then problem solved. Okay, I'm sure you noticed that long before I did, but there we go. Okay, now we can move on to 2.5 stars, and this is going to be much easier because there's only 3 of them. Okay. It took me so long to notice that. Anyway, I think in here, let's see, we have All About Love and A Boob's Life, which are 2 nonfiction, and then Never Fall for a Dragon. Never Fall for a Dragon is going to get to go first. And then A Boob's Life. And then All About Love. Okay, 2.5 stars, done. And then 2 stars should also be relatively easy. I think this one's also kind of small. Yes, okay. Let's see, in here we have Carmilla, Independent Study, which is the last in that trilogy, Halloween Party, which was an Agatha Christie, A Pack for Winter, which was bad, and The Scorpion Rules. So Carmilla and Independent Study are gonna go first. Okay, and then we have Halloween Party. Made me angry because I read it thinking that I was getting a fun Halloween murder mystery. There was barely any Halloween, and I just thought it was boring. A Pack for Winter, I thought I was getting a cozy small town romance, and instead I got Omegaverse erotica. And then The Scorpion Rules was like an early 2000s YA dystopian that was both racist and homophobic. But also, like, it was racist and then also, like, sexualized minors, first of all, and also two women in a relationship. And I didn't like that. So I think I'm going to do a Pack for Winter, Halloween Party, Scorpion Rules. Because at least a Pack for Winter didn't make me angry. And then the Scorpion Rules. There's 5 in this category? Wow. The racism and sexualization of sapphic women in this one was really upsetting because the plot had promise to be good, and then it did that and then ended horribly. So that's why it gets put here, which is also why it gets 2 stars. If it was a bad plot and racist and did those things, obviously would get nothing. But it could have been good, and the racism was just like 1 or 2 lines here and there. Like, I vividly remember the line was, it's like an AI system who comes down and is like in control, and he's talking to this one character, and he's like, oh, you're like falling for your hot Asian roommate, kinky. Pardon me? Like, why was that in there? Why did that make it past editing? Anyway, moving on to our unrated section. This one is going to be hard, but also might be easy, because they're unrated, but I have thoughts on most of them, and they're only unrated because, again, they're all either graphic novels or that I read for that assignment. So I have thoughts on all of them. I think the graphic novels are going to be hard. But other than that, I don't think I should have too hard of a time here, other than the fact that this is my biggest category. Actually, is it? No, it's only my second biggest. It has 21 books. So here we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, graphic novel. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. I read this all in one sitting, and I think it's supposed to be more like a coffee table book, so I think that's on me. The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich, which might go first because I absolutely love this. It's a graphic novel. I originally given it 5 stars before I decided that I don't want to rank, or that I don't want to rate graphic novels, but I really love that. Eat the Rich, also a graphic novel. Ash's Cabin, graphic novel. Visitations, graphic novel. When No One Is Watching, thriller. Reappearance of Rachel Price, YA mystery. Crank, Girl in the Lake, Grown, Tales of the Celestial Kingdom, Bright Red Fruit, Ambushed, We Are Not Free, The Kingdom of Little Wounds, Sunset at Sunrise, graphic novel, The Earth My Butt and Other Big Round Things, Accountable, Flamer, and Molgoth, which are both graphic novels. So within here, of the actual novels, there were actually quite a few that I really liked, including Bright Red Fruit, We Are Not Free, and Grown. Really had a good time with. So I think, oh, and We Are Not Free, which I think I just said. We Are Not Free is going to go first in this category. Now, part of me is like, these books deserve to go above these categories, most of them. Like, We Are Not Free, I absolutely love that. That's like a 4-star read for me. So it should realistically go somewhere in here, right? But because it's in the unrated section, it is currently down here. So I think what I'm gonna do is put in parentheses what I would, like, the star rating I would have given to these books if I was going to give them one, and then we can sort them into where I think they should actually go after we get this category taken care of. I think that's a good plan. And then Bright Red Fruit is gonna go next. This one would have gotten a 3.5. See, like I said, most of them I have a rating in mind for them. I just didn't give it to them at the time because that's not what I was doing with these books. Got it. Okay, and then let's see what else. Molgoth is like one of my favorite graphic novels that I read. I think Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich is gonna go next. Do you see how I said that this would have been 5 stars, but then yet I put it below these two? That's just how my brain works with graphic novels, because they're so much shorter that to me they don't register the same as like an actual novel, which they shouldn't. That's why they're in their own category. But then I'm like, well, I technically rank it above these, but this was a full novel I liked more. This is why I don't rate or rank my graphic novels typically. Okay, but that's where we're at with that. And then it would be, oh my god, not bold, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. I loved this. It was like a cozy little graphic novel with like really like warm, comforting colors and art style, and it's about like all these animals living together, and like the society is animals, but our main character, this bear woman, is a serial killer. So it had this like cozy atmosphere while also being about a serial killer having a rival serial killer. So crazy plot, and I loved it. I really love the art style in here, so that's gonna go there. And the thing is, I wouldn't give this one a ranking, so that's just gonna go there for now, and I'm not gonna put anything with it. So, and then I think after that would be Grown, and then Molgoth. I don't have ratings off the top of my head for these, so I'm not going to bother giving them one because that is just going to make more work for myself. Okay, Kingdom of Little Wounds was crazy, and I never would have read if not for this assignment, and I'm glad I read it, but it was absolutely insane. Okay, let's see, what do we have left? The Truth Will Set You Free, that needs to be at the bottom. When No One Is Watching, I liked up until the end. Did I like it more than the rest of the things in this category? Yes. This is why I said this category was going to be the hardest, because like they're not here because they're bad books by any means, but they're here because I don't know where else to put them. Okay, Eat the Rich. I did enjoy Eat the Rich. Did I like it more than these other things? More than these ones, yes. More than these ones? I did enjoy The Girl No Like. I think Reappearance of Rachel Price is next. Then I think I'm gonna do Tales of the Celestial Kingdom we can do next. That was a short story collection, which is why I didn't rate it, because I enjoyed some of the stories but not others. So like how do you like, you could average out your ratings, but I'm not doing all that, so I didn't. I think then The Girl in the Lake, and then The Kingdom of Little Wounds. I've never seen anyone talk about that book, and when I tell you, it was actually insane. Like, it wasn't even that crazy. It was just like, who would have thought to write this? Like, it was really something. Highly recommend you checking it out if you're at all intrigued, because it, like, again, it was not a crazy book. Like, it wasn't like that even much. It wasn't like that much even happened. But reading it, it was just such an experience that I could not even begin to explain it to you. It takes place like in this palace, and we follow so many different perspectives, just all following kind of like the downfall of this kingdom. It was very interesting. And it truly, like, the title makes sense. Kingdom of Little Wounds. It's like a whole bunch of little issues that just cause like this domino effect of things going wrong. Very interesting read, but would not have picked it up on my own. Okay, and then I think Eat the Rich is gonna go next. These two graphic novels I'm like very, very neutral about. Crank, crazy book as well. Ambushed was fine. It was a nonfiction about President Garfield. Sunset at Sunrise is a graphic novel about like a zombie apocalypse. I'm really feeling very neutral about the rest of these. I think next, I guess we'll do Visitations. And then I guess Flamer. And then Accountable. That was a YA nonfiction about this school that had some students make like a racist social media account to like share like racist memes, and then about like how it impacted everyone. But the author did not do a very good job of staying unbiased, and also she included like poetry about the situation that just felt really like out of touch and like should not have been included. And then also she spent more time with like the instigators of the issue than she did like the victims, and that just felt a little icky, so I didn't love that. And then I guess we'll do Ambushed, and then Sunset at Sunrise. Sunset at Sunrise. My biggest issue with this was that it was only 48 pages, so it did not really give me enough time to like get to know the characters at all. And then we'll do The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things. It should not be italicized. Goodness. Okay, what do we have left? Ash's Cabin, Crank, Truth Will Set You Free. Okay. Ash's Cabin. The pacing of this one was just way off. There were good like survival skills sprinkled throughout, but like the pacing was crazy. What did I say was next? Crank. Okay, and then that is that category. And then that is everything put in to my ranking. However, I do think that okay, I'm curious. I don't know if I should put these items up in the other ones or if I should just leave them down here. Let me think on that a minute. And while I'm thinking on it, I'm going to read through everything else that I have and see if I feel like these really it would just be like these top 3 books that I feel like I could accurately give a rating to, and then I can see about moving them up. But because it's only those 3, I feel like I should not do that. So I think I'm going to keep these down here, especially because I didn't give them a rating. I don't think it makes sense to move them up. I think I'm just going to keep these here. And really I feel like it's very interesting having a YouTube channel and doing this, because part of it, like if it was just me, I would just leave them here. Like it's just for me. And like I know how I felt about those books, but because I now have this YouTube channel and I feel like I'm like telling you about these books, I need to like put them up where I feel like they should go, when in my head they should stay right there. So they're gonna stay there. But now I'm just going to read through everything else that I put in this list and see if in reading through it and thinking about every single book, I feel like things should move. So starting up again with our 5 stars, that means that of my top 10 books of the year, this is them. It would be Plain Bad Heroines, The Stardust Thief, and then The Ashfire King. Do I feel like Plain Bad Heroines should be above The Stardust Thief? I don't think so. I think I want it to be, just because I love that book so much and I want more people to read it. But I think in thinking about what I really loved from this year, I think The Stardust Thief has to be first. So I do think that I'm going to move Plain Bad Heroines down to after The Ashfire King. I do think that that is what needs to be done. Well, I guess I could do The Stardust Thief, Plain Bad Heroines, then The Ashfire King, but that doesn't make sense to me. So it's going to go there. Okay, and then, so it would be The Stardust Thief, The Ashfire King, Plain Bad Heroines, To Shape a Dragon's Breath, which was a, like, late in the year read, but definitely deserves to be where it is. Dragon Fruit, absolutely. We Ride Upon Sticks, Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame, The Unworthy, The Center, and A Language of Dragons would be my top 10. I think I'm happy with that. Come and Get It, The Starving Saints, The Last Hero, The Six, A Treachery of Swans, Wings of Starlight, Monstrilio, Sound the Gong, The Princess and the Scoundrel, and then Abortion. I feel satisfied with this. There's nothing that I'm reading and I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel right. Everything feels totally fine here. Moving on to our 4.5 stars. Small Favors, Lucy Undying, Dancers of the Dawn, The Next Best Fling, House of Roots and Ruin, Backhanded Compliments, Defy the Stars, This Delicious Death, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, If We Survive This, Late Bloomer, A Botanical Daughter, Camp Damascus. Again, I feel good about this. I'm wondering if I should switch House of Roots and Ruin and The Next Best Fling. Part of me, when I was reading it, I felt like those two should be flipped. So I'm going to do that because why not? Again, this is really just like going based on vibes. Like there is no, I got nothing. I'm truly just reading and being like, that doesn't feel right. So next we have Alanso Wide, Biography of, this is a 4-star section. Alanso Wide, Biography of X, A Bright Heart, Hungerstone, The Eyes Are the Best Part, Lady Dragon, Violet Made of Thorns, Spells for Forgetting, The Majesties, Heart of the Sun Warrior, Playing for Keeps, Hell Followed With Us, and You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. There are several things in here that are not quite feeling right to me. Lady Dragon being above Violet Made of Thorns is the first thing. I think I'm going to switch those two. And the thing is, I think Lady Dragon could have been higher if it was written by someone else. But because I had such high expectations for it, it just kind of fell flat. And then Violet Made of Thorns, because I had 0 expectations and then I had such a fun time, it deserves to be higher. And then The Majesties, I think, should go under Heart of the Sun Warrior. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Majesties. I think my bias towards fantasy really shines through when I do this, because I typically move fantasy above any other genre. Okay, and then Playing for Keeps, Hell Followed With Us, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. Feel good about that. Okay, 3.5 stars. What the Woods Took, A Fiery Spirit, Kiss Her Once for Me, Natural Beauty, A Dark and Drowning Tide, Woman Eating, Tits Up, Ring Shout, Love in Winter Wonderland, Silver Under Nightfall, Our Wives Under the Sea, Inner Space, Kiss Me Maybe, Sunrise on the Reaping, Ladies in Hating, Say a Little Prayer, Otherworldly, The Fervor, The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, Honey Girl, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and I Was a Teenage Slasher. Honestly, because the 3.5s are the ones that I truly, 3.5s and 3 stars, I'm just like very neutral on a lot of them. I feel like after those like top 5 and then the bottom like 3, anything in the middle, it could have gone any way, and like I'm fine with it. So I am gonna keep this rating, and like I'll sit and think about this probably for like the rest of the day and then see if something should be moved, but for right now this feels good. And then 3 stars. This is where I was really struggling, because again, most of these I didn't honestly enjoy. So Heated Rivalry, which feels crazy that it's at the top of this section, Make the Season Bright, Last of the Talons, Cold Eternity, Exquisite Ruin, Fable for the End of the World, The Testing, Graduation Day, Bunny, Ghost Business, Victorian Psycho, and The Honey Witch. I feel good about that. 2.5 stars. I know this one's staying. Never Fall for a Dragon, A Boob's Life, and All About Love. Sounds good to me. 2 stars. Carmilla, Independent Study, A Pack for Winter, Halloween Party, and The Scorpion Rules. Also sounds good. Now, our unrated section. Okay, starting with We Are Not Free, Bright Red Fruit, The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. I think I'm gonna move that above Bright Red Fruit. I really loved it. I'm also gonna take out these ratings at the end because they actually don't mean anything anymore. But I really enjoyed this graphic novel, like to the point where I now follow the artist on Instagram because I just was inspired by the artist and their wife, and I thought it was so cute. I loved it so much. There were cheese puns. It just brought me so much joy, so I am going to move this up. And then this will become, what did I take out? Bright Red Fruit. Got it. Okay. And then Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Grown, Molgoth, When No One Is Watching, The Reappearance of Rachel Price, which I think I'm going to switch When No One Is Watching and The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I think that these two I enjoyed, but I enjoyed Reappearance of Rachel Price just a little bit more because I liked it enough from start to finish where No One Is Watching. I really liked the first like half and I hated how it ended. Like I just thought it was, I didn't enjoy it, and so I think that makes more sense for me. Tales of the Celestial Kingdom, The Girl in the Lake, The Kingdom of Little Wounds, Eat the Rich, Visitations, Flamer, Accountable, Ambushed. I think I'm actually going to move Ambushed above Accountable and then make this Ambushed. And then Sunset at Sunrise, The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things, Ash's Cabin, Crank, and The Truth Will Set You Free. I think I'm going to switch Sunset at Sunrise and The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things because The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things, I think it's problematic. It has its problems. But I think for the time it was written and for the like young people who read it, I think it really meant a lot. And also just like it had good messages. I just don't know that the author who wrote it is the one who should have been writing it, but at least it did get written and it was entertaining. Like I did have a good time with it. So I do think that that can go there. And then Ash's Cabin, Crank, and yeah. So I'm actually now feeling quite good about this. So this is my official ranking of all 110 books I read this year, minus kind of this, because again, like these ones here would kind of end up somewhere else, but they're in my unrated section and that's where they are going to stay. So, and I always, let me show you actually real quick how I did this last year. So I did the same thing like this last year, but then I took that information and printed out the book covers and put them in my journal accordingly. So if you can see this like colored outline, I have all the 5 stars lined up and then the 4.5 stars and so on and so forth in here. And so if I end up doing this again, which I would do in my actual like reading journal, not this notebook, I would just do it again, but like make sure that the unrated ones end up in their own section. So I am really happy with how that turned out. I will have a video going more in depth over my top 10 books of the year just to like really talk about those because I love them all so much. So I will have that. I'm probably not going to do like a top 10 worst books, like bottom 10 worst books of the year. I probably won't do that just because I don't really have a whole lot to say about them. And you kind of already heard me say what I needed to say about why they are where they're at. I might do like most disappointing reads of the year because those aren't necessarily bad books that I didn't enjoy. They just like didn't live up to the expectations I had set for them. So that might be something that I do, but I won't do like my worst reads of the year. So those also just are not videos that I really like to watch because it's like, I'm not going to take recommendations from that because if you think they're the worst books you read all year, I'm not going to want to read them. So that's where we're at with that. That honestly feels very accomplished. I'm very happy that I got that done. So I'm just going to look at it again, look at my top 10 books of the year. I have been waiting to get this finalized. It has just taken me so long. Even looking at this, I'm like, yeah, I'm really happy with this. Like, this is good. I did a good job. I read a lot of really good things this year. But looking at it now, I'm wondering if A Language of Dragons should be above The Center and The Unworthy. Because it would still be in the top 10, all of them would be, but that one kind of, they all stuck with me in very different ways. But A Language of Dragons, you'll just have to wait until my top 10 reads of the year video comes out. So keeping a little suspense in there for you because there is a chance that I move some things around. And then also, I'll probably print out all 110 book covers, which feels like a bad idea for my printer, and the environment, but a good idea for my journal. And so I might do a spread with just like everything that I read completely ranked because I would love to do that, just like for my analytical brain. I would love to have that in there. So I also might do a journal flip through because this is just what I showed you where I had it from last year. That's just my notebook where I write things. And then I also have an actual like journal where I do like more like scrapbook style things going on in here. And this is my first year doing this, so I might do a journal flip through once I get the end of the year spreads fully completed. But for now, I'm just happy to have all of those things ranked, and that's like a big task that's been weighing on me because it takes me quite a long time to do it, honestly. I think I've been here for like an hour. You obviously have not seen all of that because I've thankfully cut some of it out for your viewing pleasure, but I'm glad to have that done, and now I can like move forward with my end of year stats and different things. So very excited about this. 2025 was a very interesting year for me in my personal life and also just like my like academics and everything, but also a great year for me reading wise. I've read the most that I've ever read this past year, and I'm really hoping to carry that forward into the new year. I don't think I'll read this many books again because 22 of those 110 books were from this assignment. And as I said multiple times, I would not have picked up most of those books if not for that assignment. So I will not probably read that many. I'm setting my reading goal for 45 books this year, which is what I did last year and what I'll probably continue to do. But I just hope that I continue to read really great things that like keep me thinking about those books and just like keep me engaged in reading. So we'll see what the new year brings, and I guess I will see you back here again at the end of the year to do this all over again. But between now and then, I will do lots of other things, and you will get to see me do lots of other things and read lots of other books. So I hope you stick with me through the year. Again, thank you for being here. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. And like I said, I hope to see you in another video again soon. Bye!